The site is located right at the heart of the City of London. It is a stone's throw from the Bank of England. It's actually, the Rothschilds have been on the site for 200 years, and it was established here because of the proximity to the bank. We have St. Stephen's of Walbrook right behind us, Christopher Wren's church, and it's really in the middle of the Bank Conservation District. When we first saw the brief, it was, I think, really just looking at the history of the organization and the density of the site, and wanting to give them something that stood out but yet remained subtle. One of our inspirations was the Renaissance Florence and the Uffizi Palace, where the Medici family was a banking family and had a quite close relationship to the city, and very few items or buildings within Florence penetrated the sky plane. So for us, it was to make something special that came above the buildings that surrounded. The completed building is, we describe it as a cube, which is a block that is 10 stories that contains primarily offices. We raised the cube off of the ground plane, and that was to provide views through to Christopher Wren's church from St. Swithin's Lane, which has been blocked for about 200 years. And then adjacent to the cube are annexes, and that has the exterior mesh, the metal mesh. So it's distinguished both architecturally and for light transmission. Those 3 annexes contain the staircases, the toilets, all of the ancillary services, staff, cafe, etc. And then we have at the very top is the Sky Pavilion, which has client entertaining and meeting rooms. The client didn't think they actually needed such a thing. The planners actually wanted us to take the building off the top, but we persisted, and actually now they can't use it enough. At the very top of the cube, so below the Sky Pavilion, is a roof garden, which is for the employees. In designing it, there was always a question of not having enough meeting rooms, so we thought it would be great fun to actually make meeting rooms outside. Understanding that we are in London, so they probably don't get used too often. The materials we use, the exterior of the building is glass and aluminium, and the actual cube is primarily the structures on the outside of the building, which makes the floor plan on the interior much more open. There are only 4 interior columns. Within the annexes, we have an expanded metal or aluminum mesh, which provides some sun shading. And it's really quite a modern look amongst a sea of Portland stone. The ground floor is travertine with a travertine ceiling, so it's really a sandwich of travertine which frames the church. On the interior, we tried to juxtapose, especially on the client-facing floors or the more public areas of the building, a lot of materials from the archive, from Rothschild's archive. We either used them exactly as they were, wood paneling that was in the Victorian building, which was reused in the 1960s building, which we've again used in this building, or sometimes we've reinterpreted materials where we've used the pattern of the wood paneling in, say, a metal wall, or images of the family which we've blown up on and put on silk panels, so that there's this idea of a bit of the richness of the history within the modernity of the exterior materials. The difference between Rothschild is actually a 200-year-old institution. They've been very active in the city since that time, helped fund the Napoleonic Wars. And so not only the architecture, they wanted to have some kind of tie to the past, and especially to the site, having been here for 200 years, but also to show that they looked forward to the future. I think that was one of the reasons they selected us, is they wanted a modern building, which I think most people were surprised that they went for OMA as an architect, being such a traditional blue-crested, blue-blooded, whatever the word is, institution. Well, Rothschild, who've known for being discreet, and people would ask if the building has changed that. And in some ways I would say yes and no. The building can't actually be seen very easily from many angles. You still need to know to get down St. Swithin's Lane, which is only a 2-meter wide medieval street. Otherwise you would never come across the front door. But when you come across the front door, it is actually now a very open space. You can see into the lobby. It's very transparent. Yet it's not a tall building, so it's not something that you see from across the river. You have to know it to find it across the river. So it's maybe the right balance of discreet yet proud. I'm most proud probably of finishing the building. I think any project you embark on ends up being about 5+ years of your life. This one was particularly difficult, mostly because of the logistics of the site. Our main access was St. Swithin's Lane, and we have neighbouring conditions on all sides, which proved interesting. As we were actually demolishing the last building, the property line wasn't where it was meant to be. It was quite complicated. But really, I think that what I feel the most, when I get the most emotional, I'd have to say, not only when you can catch glimpses of the building around the city, but really is the ground floor, and in some ways it's giving back to the city this view to the church, which in some ways our building only frames a view of something that's been there for 400 years.